Hi, this is Teacher Jennifer from U.S. Citizenship Podcast. We're back from our hiatus with a new interview with USCIS Officer Arwen FitzGerald. She talks about the latest developments from USCIS, particularly the MyUSCIS account, which you can use to apply for citizenship online. Let's get started. Can you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your job?
Well, thank you for having me, Jennifer. My name is Arwen FitzGerald, and I'm a Public Affairs Officer with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and I live in San Antonio, Texas. So my role at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is to work with the media and their stakeholders and to answer any questions that they might have about immigration or our services.
I've noticed on your Twitter feed you have some really beautiful pictures of naturalization ceremonies, and I really appreciate that, and I do share them with our students because it does give them hope in saying, hey, that's going to be you in about 8 months.
Well,
Yes.
Thank you. I like to hear that. I love attending those, and I think that anyone that has an opportunity, because they are open to the public, should really take the chance to go see one.
I would like to go to a new announcement from USCIS that you're using tablets now during the naturalization interview. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. As USCIS continues to move into the digital environment, we're looking to administer the English reading and writing portion of the naturalization test using digital tablets.
Can you give me an example of what that would entail?
Sure. So when you go in for your citizenship interview, you'll be giving English reading and writing tests. For the reading test, a sentence will appear on the tablet, and the Immigration Services Officer will ask the applicant to read it. For the writing test, there will be several lines that will appear on the tablet, kind of looking like a piece of paper, and the Immigration Services Officer will read a sentence aloud and ask the applicant to write the sentence on the tablet. One of my students asked, is there going to be thumbprints taken at that time? And I said, I think it's simply to capture the writing sample. Is that true? That's correct. Our biometrics are done at application service support centers, and we send out separate appointments for that to be done. Now I want to get to one of the big innovations that I've seen with USCIS. Now people can submit their N400 online. Can you talk a little bit about the USCIS online accounts? I would be happy to. One of the goals of USCIS is to become completely paperless by 2020. And in doing so, we've been digitizing some of our forms so that you can apply online. And one of those is the N400, the application for naturalization. And we digitized that in August of 2016. In order to apply online, you need to make a MyUSCIS account, which you can do straight from our website, uscis.gov. When you create your account online, one of the things that initially tripped up my students was the double certification to get into their accounts. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about how USCIS is trying to protect people's personal information? Right, you're correct. So USCIS wants to protect information, and just like if you had a Google Gmail account and you authorize verification through your email and your phone number, we're doing the same thing to make sure that someone that does not misrepresent themselves and try to fraudulently apply for someone else's N400. I noticed on the account, a person's lawyer or legal representative can create an account on behalf of their client, but I really try to encourage my students to create an account for themselves, at least try to practice submitting their N400. What kind of information do they need when they're going to sit down and start practicing to submit an N400? Well, the great thing about the N400 is that it will ask you questions based on information that you will provide for the application. So you don't need to see the entire N400 if it doesn't apply to you. So it's very particular with the types of questions it asks. But you'll need to have evidence to prove that you've been here legally, information from your green card, information from your employer, where you live. Most information like that you'll need to have available when applying for your N400 online. I know that you can upload all your evidence using your smartphone. You just take a picture and it uploads.
That's been very helpful for our students. But one of the things that I advise my students is, hey, have your green card there. So when they ask you for your A number, you have it right there. So you can proceed with that information. So to lay out that information before you start is very helpful. And also, one of the things that I liked about the online account is they asked you about your qualifications first before you even get to the part about filling out the N400.
The application groups related questions on the same screen.
Yes.
So it only asks questions that you need to answer based on the information that they provide. Like if you're not using an interpreter, those questions about an interpreter will not show up.
Well, what kind of response are you getting from the public on the online accounts?
I think once people have realized that it's available, I think they're very happy with it. You can communicate directly with USCIS through your online account. You can get text messages and email status updates about your application. You can save your N400 for up to 30 days and keep editing it if you have, so you don't have to do it all in one sitting.
Some of my students have asked about their receipt number. I said that after the application is submitted, then they're going to receive a receipt number.
You're correct, Jennifer. So once your N400 has been successfully submitted to USCIS, then it will generate a receipt number. USCIS will provide a receipt number for each immigration benefit that applicant applies for. And that's how you track the status of your application.
When you talk about immigration benefit, are you talking about, say, for instance, something like a fee waiver or a fee reduction?
Like applications, so if you apply for a green card, you get a receipt. If you apply for N400, you get a receipt number.
If a student wants to submit a fee waiver or a fee reduction form with their N400, can they do that online through the USCIS online account, or do they need to submit it by paper and send it in?
At this time, they'll need to submit it by paper and send it in that way.
Are they able to use their credit cards online?
Yes, you can pay for all your online fees online with a credit card.
Is there anything else that you want us to know about the online account?
So the online filing process streamlines our side of the process, making it easier for us to communicate with your students and with petitioners, and to give efficient responses and requests for evidence. So this is a priority for USCIS to use technology to be more efficient in adjudicating immigration benefits.
Again, we really appreciate this, and I hope everybody can participate submitting their N400 or the renewal for their green card online. Are they going to try to put all their forms online?
That's what we're working towards. We recently just introduced 2 new forms, the N565, the application for the replacement of your naturalization or citizenship document, and the N336, the request for a hearing on a decision in a naturalization proceeding. So we're working towards putting more and more applications on.
We've talked about the online accounts. Are there any other resources that USCIS has that people may not know about but should know about?
The one that I would love to bring up is our virtual assistant, Emma. We just updated her a couple months ago, and she is more interactive, more responsive, and she has a new face modeled on one of our adjudicators.
Okay. Can I talk about one of your hidden gems? I really love you guys on Instagram, your stories that feature maybe the question of the day. And I really appreciate your Twitter accounts too. Let's go on and talk about what's coming up from USCIS. What can we look forward to?
Well, USCIS is really focused on creating a central point of contact through our contact center, which is our 1-800 number, 1-800-375-5283.
Okay.
And we have both customer service representatives and immigration services officers that work at the contact center, so they can answer all your questions. And if they can't answer your question, they can get you an appointment at your closest field office to answer your questions in person.
Okay. Is the phone tree in English? Is it in other languages?
Right now, it's only in English and Spanish.
And finally, do you have any advice for applicants who are preparing for their interview?
Speaking of digital, we have an application on Google Play or iTunes, which will help you study for your civics test.
And I always tell my students to look for the red and blue torch. Anything else that you want people to know about?
Yes, thanks for bringing this up, Jennifer. That is the only app that USCIS currently has. Any app that you say that says USCIS case search or case status or case tracker is not ours. It's a scam, and I do not give your information to those applications.
Wow. That's really good to know. That's a great tip.
And I also recommend that they visit our at USCIS YouTube page, and they will walk you through the entire naturalization interview in a series of videos. And that will help you prepare for it as well.
And I also like your playlist of the USCIS officers looking straight into the camera and asking the USCIS questions. That's really helpful too. So they're eye to eye with an officer. And I tell my students, look, life is not subtitle. You're going to have to talk to somebody. Practice with those resources. Any final words?
No, I really appreciate you taking the time, Jennifer, to talk with us. It's really important that we get out the information that we have available to applicants and petitioners, and this is just another great venue to do it on. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thanks to the students and staff of Milpitas Adult School. A special thanks goes out to Arwen FitzGerald from USCIS, Texas. Please visit us on the web at uscitizenpod.com. Thanks for listening. I know you will be a great American citizen. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.